Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Alicia and I share beauty and lifestyle videos, so I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. But today I'm going to be reviewing the new Benefit Brow Pomade, so if y'all want to hear my thoughts on it, then just keep watching. So I used to use brow pomade all the time. That is actually the product that I used whenever I first started filling in my brows. I just felt like it looked really natural and it was really easy to use. Plus every brow pomade that I've used, a little goes a long way, so the product actually lasts you for a while. I would say I used a pomade for probably a year or two, and then I started wanting to try different brow products once I got comfortable filling in my brows. So I started using pencils, and then pens came out a few years later, and now I love all the brow products. So lately I've been switching back and forth between pens and pencils, but then when I saw Benefit came out with a new pomade, I knew I had to try it, and I wanted to show y'all as well in case you were curious. And it's kind of an updated how I do my brows as well, kind of mixed in with a first impression. But the reason I wanted to try their new one is because I actually think their old pomade is the one I started using first out of anything, and it is Ka-Brow. So this is what their old one looks like, and I'm pretty sure the new one is taking place of it because I could not find it on Ulta's website or Benefits, but they did have the mini version of this, so probably taking place. I'm not sure if it's still in store. I would think they would want to sell what they already had, but I could be wrong. Who knows? But yeah, I actually think this is the exact product I first started using because at the time I was working for Ulta and I was lucky enough to go to the Benefit brow training, and that was so amazing. I'm so glad I got to go because I learned how to shape brows, and my brows now are all thanks to Benefit because they were horrible. That is when I learned just how horrible they were. I had tweezed too far. I was definitely an over tweezer, and after I got them shaped and saw how much I needed to grow in, so I grew them out for about 3 or 4 months, and then at Ulta I let them wax me at the Benefit brow bar, and I actually have only had 2 people touch my brows because I kind of scarred myself from over tweezing. So I'm very picky with my brows because it took a long time to get them to look this good. So if you have been wanting to get your brows shaped or waxed, I highly recommend Benefit brow bars. They have them inside Ulta, and they will tell you where your brow should start, where your arch should be, and where they should end, and then they draw a box around them and they wax outside the box, but they show you the box before they wax. That way if you want them thinner or thicker, they can move it accordingly, and then they can also tell you if you need to grow in certain areas to kind of leave it alone if you tweeze yourself, and then they will also teach you how to fill in your brows if you're not really sure how to do that either. But enough about that, let's go ahead and get into the product. So here is what the packaging looks like. It is called Pomade Brow Pomade, and then here is what the actual product looks like. So you can see it is a pretty good size container, and first impression just on like the packaging and everything, I don't know if y'all can see, but it has a little shelf on this side, and that is to scrape off any extra product. So I love that because you don't have extra product all around, so it makes it a lot cleaner and less messy around the whole entire tube. So just in case this is your first impressions or review video of mine you're watching, I like to be pretty critical of the product I'm reviewing because I know everyone looks for something different whenever they're shopping for makeup, and I know that some things I think is a negative, y'all might think is a positive, stuff that y'all think is a negative, I might think is a positive. Everybody has different opinions, different things they're looking for. So I like to think of every little thing just to help y'all because I do these reviews for y'all to see if it's something that you might like or if you don't want to waste your money or waste your time getting it. So that is why I'm extra critical about things. So the reason I'm saying that is because the one negative, which isn't a big deal, but I did want to point it out, is the old one versus the new one. One thing I really liked about the old one is it had a built-in brush. So this came out of the lid, and then if you want to, you can flip it around and it snaps in the lid like that. And then you have your brush built into the product, so that is perfect for traveling because you don't have to worry about a separate brush or forgetting your brow brush. But one negative about this is you had to be very careful putting it back in, because if you were too rough with it, then it could get frayed. But I never had that problem, but looking at the testers in store, people would just jam it back in there and it was frayed. But as you can see, I've had mine probably too long. I probably need to throw this away, but it still is in really good shape. So as far as the new one, you have to buy the brush separate. So the product by itself is $20 and then the brush is $18. So that is $38 for the brush and the product. But of course you don't have to buy a new brush every time. The new brush will last you if you take care of it, obviously. And I will say I couldn't find a price on this, but I'm pretty sure it was either $20, $23, or $25. So a lot cheaper, but look at the size difference. I couldn't find how much product is in there, but you can obviously see there's a big difference. So obviously this will last you longer, and $20 is good for that. But if you already have a brow brush, then it's not a big deal. I have several brow brushes, so it's not a big deal for me, but I know not everyone is a brush hoarder, so that is just one thing that I wanted to point out, that you do have to buy a brush separate. But like I said, not a big negative, but I wanted to point that out just in case you were curious about that. Okay, so it's supposed to have a 36-hour wear. I'm not going to have it on for 36 hours because I wash my face every night. But if you have an early morning and you're going to have a late night, it should stay all day, all night for 36 hours. It's also waterproof and smudge proof, so if you're someone who touches their face a lot, or if you have to wear a hat or do anything for work, or if you're traveling, then it should also stay. But enough talking, enough rambling. Let's go ahead and try the product. I feel so weird without my brows. I usually do my brows, then my eyeshadow, and you will see in a minute what a huge difference brows make. Okay, before you start filling in your brows, you do want to comb through them with a spoolie, which is what this is, and that is kind of another positive about having to buy a brush, is because this one does not have a spoolie, so you would need a spoolie. It is the blending brush for your brows, so it is pretty important. So you want to comb through them. Not only does it put the hairs in place, but it also gets out any foundation if you got any in your brows. And then you will use it in the end to blend out the product, which I will show y'all. So I'm hoping this is the right color. I got shade 3.5 because I've been liking a little bit darker and cooler brows than when I first started, because in the old one I got shade 3. And I think that's what I used in like the pencils and stuff. So I also got shade 3 in this, but it looked a little bit too warm, so I'm gonna go in with a 3.5. So I dipped my brush in, and so now I'm gonna scrape it on that little thing and get any extra product off. So what I like to do first is I will start off at the front of my brow, on the bottom. That's a good color. And then I will outline the whole bottom. And then when I don't have much product left on my brush, I go in the front and sweep it up. So I didn't get any extra product. I'm just sweeping what was left on my brush, and kind of what I put down at the bottom, I'm just sweeping that up. That is going to make the front of your brow look more natural instead of boxy. I personally don't like a boxy front brow. A lot of people will like draw it. That's fine if you do that. That is not how I like to do it. I like it to look natural. So same thing, I'm going to add a little to my brush and then scrape off any extra on that little ledge. Now for the top, I don't start all the way in the front. I go kind of where your hair starts to turn sideways, if that makes sense. So I'll start about right here. Outline the top. And then I'll kind of use any extra product I have on my brush to kind of fill in the middle. And then when I don't have much product, that's when I'll lightly go in the front. So I barely have any product on my brush when I go the rest of the way in the front. And then I go back in if I need to fix the tail, add more to the tail, fill any more in. Okay, look at the difference brows make. Is that not crazy? I just feel like it really helps to frame your face, frame your eye. Okay, so once you have it all filled in, that is when you go in with your spoolie and just brush through, because this will help to blend it out and make them look more natural. And then if you get too much product, like if it's too dark, you can see that kind of lightened it up. So if you ever get them too dark, then you just go through and that softens the color. And then that also softens the edges from where we drew the outline. That way it's not just a sharp line. Unless you like that, if you want to leave that sharp line, then you can just go like in the center. But I did sweep up from the bottom. But if you accidentally did that and you like that line, then you can always go back in and draw it in. But after you draw it, I would go ahead and sweep it up. And always remember, when you're doing your brows, that they are sisters, not twins. So everybody's brows are different, they're shaped different, and one is usually lower depending on what side you sleep on. I actually learned that in makeup school. She looked at me and was like, "You sleep on that side, don't you?" I was like, "How do you know that?" So you're not crazy if you think one of your brows is lower. It probably is. So they're not going to be exactly the same, and do not stress over making them identical, because they're not going to be. That is something that I had to overcome when I started doing other people's makeup. I would spend so much time on the brows trying to get them exactly the same, and I would end up making it worse because I would just spend too much time. So now I just do them, and it's a whole lot easier, and it's a whole lot easier on myself as well. And one tip I will say to make it a little bit easier if they are pretty different, what I like to do is I will do the one that has the better shape and that I like better first, because then you can kind of use that as a guide for the other side. But I have heard people say to do the bad brow first, but I don't know, maybe one time try doing your good brow first, and then the next time try doing your bad brow and see which way you like better. But that is what is easier for me personally. So now I'm going to do the other side. Okay, I feel so much better now that my brows are done. Ever since I started filling them in, if I don't have a little bit of something in them, I feel like I look so weird. Even if I have very minimal makeup on, very natural look, I still have to do something. I just think it's crazy the difference brows make. But I think this is a really good color. Just for reference, once again, I did use shade 3.5, but they have a bunch of different shades. And if you aren't really sure, you can always ask someone in store which one they recommend. But it also tells online, I'm pretty sure, like warm, medium tone brown, or light auburn. Like, I think it kind of describes the shades, so maybe that will help, but maybe it will also help with like my hair color and the shade I use. But it also depends on if you want a cooler tone or warmer. If you aren't really sure what that means, let me show you the shade 3. So I don't know if y'all can tell that that is warmer than the 3.5. Let me show y'all side by side. Okay, so if you can tell, the 3 is a little bit warmer, where the 3.5 is a little cooler. So hopefully y'all can tell and that makes sense. But you can always exchange it or return it if you don't like it, or if it's the wrong color. Even if you used it, Ulta will take it back. Just be sure it is, I think, 30 days. And if you want a refund after 30 days, I'm pretty sure they have to give you store credit. But if you're wanting to exchange it, it's not a big deal. But overall, my first impression is I love it. It was very easy to use, very creamy, and it blended out really nice. And if you've been wanting to try a brow pomade, I highly recommend this one. It is $20, but this will last you forever because that is a lot of product. And then of course y'all saw as I was doing them, very little product. And yeah, just keep in mind you do have to buy a brow brush separate, but you don't have to get the Benefit one if you see one cheaper, or if you already have one, then you can use that. Any brow brush will work. But if you don't have one and you're shopping for one, just keep in mind that they do have different ones. So this one is the Anastasia, and you can see it's a little bit longer and skinnier. And then this is the Benefit one. I don't know if the new one looks like this, but it is a little bit shorter and wider. And if you aren't really sure what type you would like, just get one, try it out, and if you don't like it, then you can always return it, exchange it, or just try again next time you are shopping. But I really hope that y'all enjoyed this Benefit Pomade brow pomade review / mini brow tutorial. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I make new videos every week, but I don't have anything else to say except thank you for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.